Everything I share today is for educational purposes only. This is not legal advice, and I am not your attorney. If you or someone you love has been wrongfully convicted, contact a licensed criminal defense attorney or an innocence organization in your state immediately. He served 17 years in a maximum security prison for a murder he did not commit. No physical evidence connected him to the crime. The conviction rested entirely on the testimony of one witness, a witness who later admitted she lied. 17 years, gone. When he walked out of that prison, he had no job, no savings, no home, and a criminal record that followed him everywhere, even after his conviction was overturned. This is not a rare story in America. Since 1989, more than 3,400 people have been exonerated in the United States after being wrongfully convicted. Those are only the cases we know about. The ones where someone fought hard enough and long enough to prove their innocence. Nobody knows how many more are still sitting in cells right now for crimes they did not commit. Today, I am going to explain exactly how wrongful convictions happen, what legal tools exist to fight them, and what the system does and does not do for people whose lives were taken by a broken process. The issue. The American criminal justice system operates on a fundamental promise. You are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That standard is supposed to be the highest protection against convicting the wrong person. But the system is built and operated by human beings. And human beings make mistakes. They have biases. They cut corners. They sometimes lie. The legal question here is this. When the system fails and an innocent person is convicted, what legal remedies exist? How does someone fight their way out of a wrongful conviction? And what accountability exists for the people who caused it? The law. Several constitutional protections are designed to prevent wrongful convictions, and several legal mechanisms exist to correct them when they occur. The 14th Amendment guarantees due process. This means the government must follow fair procedures before depriving any person of life, liberty, or property. A conviction obtained through false evidence, prosecutorial misconduct, or ineffective counsel is a due process violation. The 6th Amendment guarantees the right to effective assistance of counsel. One of the leading causes of wrongful conviction is inadequate legal representation. Attorneys who are overworked, underfunded, or simply incompetent. A conviction resulting from ineffective counsel can be challenged through what is called a Strickland claim, based on the 1984 Supreme Court case Strickland v. Washington. Brady v. Maryland, a 1963 Supreme Court case, established that prosecutors must disclose all evidence favorable to the defendant. When prosecutors hide evidence that could prove innocence, it is called a Brady violation. It is one of the most serious forms of prosecutorial misconduct and one of the most common causes of wrongful conviction. Post-conviction, there are several legal pathways to fight a wrongful conviction. Direct appeal. Immediately after conviction, a defendant can appeal to a higher court, arguing legal errors occurred during trial. This must generally be filed within strict deadlines. Habeas corpus petition. This is a constitutional right that allows a person to challenge the legality of their imprisonment. A habeas petition can be filed in state or federal court and can raise issues of constitutional violations that were not raised at trial. DNA evidence. The Innocence Project and similar organizations have used DNA testing to exonerate hundreds of wrongfully convicted people. In many states, convicted individuals have the right to request DNA testing of evidence if it was not tested at the time of trial. Newly discovered evidence. If new evidence surfaces after conviction that was not available at trial, and that evidence could reasonably have changed the outcome, it can be the basis for a new trial motion. Real-world application. In 1984, a young man named Ronald Cotton was convicted of rape in North Carolina based primarily on eyewitness identification. The victim identified him confidently in a lineup. He was sentenced to life in prison. 11 years later, DNA testing proved he was innocent. The actual perpetrator, another man, was identified through DNA. Ronald Cotton was exonerated in 1995 after serving 11 years for a crime he did not commit. The victim, Jennifer Thompson, later became one of the most powerful advocates for criminal justice reform in America. Her story illustrated one of the leading causes of wrongful conviction: eyewitness misidentification. Studies show that eyewitness misidentification plays a role in approximately 69% of wrongful conviction cases, later overturned by DNA evidence. Ronald Cotton eventually received compensation from the state of North Carolina. But no amount of money returns 11 years of a person's life. Common mistakes. The first mistake is giving up after losing an appeal. Post-conviction litigation is a long and difficult process. Many wrongful conviction cases were not resolved until 10, 15, or 20 years after the original conviction. Organizations exist specifically to take on these cases. Giving up too early closes doors that may still be open. The second mistake is not preserving physical evidence. If physical evidence from the original trial still exists, it must be preserved for potential DNA testing. In many cases, evidence is destroyed after a certain period unless specific legal steps are taken to preserve it. An attorney must file motions to prevent evidence destruction. The third mistake is not documenting everything from the original trial. Trial transcripts, witness statements, police reports, and attorney communications are all potentially valuable in post-conviction proceedings. Families of incarcerated individuals should gather and preserve every document they can access. The fourth mistake is not contacting innocence organizations. The Innocence Project, state innocence clinics at law schools, and similar organizations provide free legal representation to wrongfully convicted individuals who meet their criteria. Many families do not know these resources exist or how to access them. The fifth mistake is not understanding compensation rights after exoneration. Federal law provides compensation to people wrongfully convicted of federal crimes. Many states have their own wrongful conviction compensation statutes, but compensation is not automatic. It must be applied for through specific legal processes and within specific deadlines. Your action steps. 1. If you believe you or a loved one has been wrongfully convicted, contact a criminal defense attorney with post-conviction experience immediately. Post-conviction law is specialized. Not every criminal defense attorney handles these cases. Find one who does. 2. Contact your state's innocence organization or the National Innocence Project. Submit an application for case review. These organizations have secured hundreds of exonerations and provide free representation to those who qualify. 3. File a motion to preserve all physical evidence from the original trial. This must be done proactively. Once evidence is destroyed, that avenue is permanently closed. 4. Obtain complete trial records including transcripts, police reports, witness statements, and all discovery materials. Review everything for Brady violations, evidence that prosecutors may have withheld. 5. If exoneration is achieved, immediately consult an attorney about compensation claims under your state's wrongful conviction statute. Deadlines apply. acting quickly protects your right to compensation. The system is supposed to protect the innocent. When it fails, and it does fail, the people it destroys are not statistics. They are fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, people who had jobs and families and futures that were taken from them by a process that got it wrong. The legal tools to fight back exist. They are difficult to use and the road is long. But they exist. Know them. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And for any real legal situation, always speak with a licensed attorney in your state.